Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm your host SM Hali, presenting another edition of Defense and Diplomacy. This program is special because it is being held on the eve of the Kashmir Solidarity Day. We've been observing the Kashmir Solidarity Day for the last 26 years. Is this Kashmir issue closer to a solution or not? That is what we are going to discuss today. But before we discuss that, we have to assure our brothers and sisters in Kashmir that Pakistan is on secure footing. And to ensure Pakistan's secure footing, today the Prime Minister of Pakistan visited the Directorate General of ISI, where a high-level security meeting was organized, in which the internal and external enemies of Pakistan were discussed. The entire spectrum was brought. But let me not steal the thunder from our very eminent guests who are going to share their opinions with us. We are honored to have in the studio today, first of all, none other than Mashal Malik. Welcome to the show, Mashal. Viewers, she needs no introduction. We all know that her husband, Yasin Malik, has suffered incarceration and has been in the front line of the freedom fighters of Indian Occupied Kashmir. She herself and her little daughter has suffered torture at the hands of the Indians. She'll be telling us more about it in a while. Then we have with us Colonel Maroof, who is also a Kashmiri, but more importantly, after his career in the army, he has taken up the cudgel on behalf of his brothers and sisters of Kashmir through his pen and through his analysis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Then we have with us Zulfikar Abbasi, who is basically the head of the trading corporation, but more importantly, he is the vice president of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf of Azad Jammu Kashmir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Zulfikar Saab, first of all, let's briefly talk about this high-level security meeting which took place at the Directorate General of ISI, which was attended by the Prime Minister, the Army Chief, and of course the Minister for Interior and the National Security Advisor. Would you care to comment on that?
I think the timing of the meeting is fairly important because Pakistan is transforming. We are going to have a transition of internal and external nature. We are going to have a CPEC project where we are going to receive a $46 billion investment into Pakistan, and this area is going to be a hub for the economic activities in the coming decades. So at the same time, we see that Pakistan's internal security is also being challenged by some local as well as some foreign elements, on which there is a complete consensus among the people of Pakistan that these elements should be taken to the task with the fullest possible force. And that is why it is very important that our military and political leadership gets together and they move in the unison and
they evolve a strategy to handle and stop the machinations of the foreign secret services and intelligence agencies who are trying to make the water murkier here.
That's very true.
Let me come to Colonel Maroof. He mentioned the CPEC. Now, it is extremely important to remember that the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is also going to pass through the Azad Jammu Kashmir.
Yes.
And it is going to benefit the people of that region and help raise the level of their lives and quality of lives. While we are working for the people of the Indian Occupied Kashmir, we must ensure that the people this side of the divide also get their fair share of development. What's your thoughts?
Yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, you know, this Kashmir issue is a very long, outstanding issue, and reason being is that, you know, at
let's talk about first, sir, in light of this high-level security meeting which was held today.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because the issue is why it is outstanding, because India, you know, at international level, people think that India is big market, and that's why they are taking side of India. Otherwise, morally and legitimately, Kashmir issue should have been solved by now. And since India is a big market, and India has big stakes for the at international level. So people are taking their side, and they rather than solving this issue, they are avoiding discussing and solving this issue. Reason being, Pakistan, they think, is a weak side and India is a strong side. So, as Abbasi Sahib mentioned, the OPEC, with the help and the economical activities, Pakistan will get more stronger and stronger, and more so the political processes on taking off. So with the help of this political process and all these economic activities, Pakistan will, inshallah, will get more stronger and stronger. And when Pakistan will be more stronger, virtually the world community will divert their attention from India toward Pakistan. They will take it as a big market, and with the stronger Pakistan, the solution of Kashmir issue is likely to come closer and closer. This is what we see. And if we think, and we remain within the internal threats that we are facing at the moment, the terrorism and otherwise the Taliban, and for last, I think, more than a decade, we are facing this threat, and we are indulged and we are involved, and Pakistan totally committed with these internal threats, and externally we can't look and we cannot face and fight on this issue. So when we are, the OPEC is, this project is over. CPEC project is over, and Pakistan is more stronger economically and politically, then we will be in a better position to concentrate and divert the attention of the world community on Kashmir issue, and then we can hope, and I'm very optimistic that this issue will be solved in a better and more expeditious ways.
Right. So, Mushal Malik, although this issue is very dear to our hearts, but still, to recap, in 1989, the people of the Valley of Kashmir, having been disgruntled and disappointed that India was not going to follow the United Nations resolutions and grant them their right of self-determination, they raised the banner of freedom or hurriyat. And that is when the Indian forces, they pounced upon the valley. They threw in more than 700,000 armed forces personnel, which is the highest ratio in anywhere in the world. I think it is one soldier equivalent to, say, 4 Kashmiris. That means one soldier is there to torture at least 4 Kashmiris, and nearly the figures.
And apart from that, more than 2 lakh dogs over there, so you can count that too, and they're really big and they're scary, and they breed them.
Okay.
So that's a parallel army.
So just to recap, nearly 100,000 Kashmiris have lost their lives. Women have been tortured and worse still, they have been put to a lot of distress. They've been burning, looting, and innocent people have been jailed. So kindly just give us a brief rundown since 1989.
1989, that was the time when the world was giving some attention to Kashmir cause. There were high tides, international papers, international press, world leaders were concerned because militancy level was very high in Indian Occupied Kashmir. But then the world powers, they convinced people like my husband, Yasin Malik, to give up arms and follow the Gandhian or the way Quaid-e-Azam fought for Pakistan, and that the peaceful ways are acceptable. There are more, you can garner more international support for them. Yasin got convinced, but you see, when you don't have a weapon in your hand and you have such, fully equipped and armed Indian occupation forces over there torturing you all the time, so you need a greater level of patience and tolerance and bravery to stand against them and fight for your legitimate and legal right without any weapon in your hand. And they're shooting you left, right, center, everywhere indiscriminately. They are firing. They have all the immunity, the draconian laws that they have. The Indian forces are not accountable. So the level of tolerance and the level of patience, I hope and pray that that doesn't die down, because Yasin Saab has also warned this many a times, that the youth is getting more and more frustrated in Indian occupied Kashmir. They see that the only way forward now is, because the world is ignoring them, it's rejecting them, they're low tides, they just have research papers going on in international think tanks, but nothing is happening in the practical sense. Is United Nations losing its value the way the Council of Europe and the League of Nations, they lost their value, and then a new world order emerge? Is something new going to happen, or the youth of Kashmir is going to protect their homeland with whatever way they can? Because according to international laws, it is your right that you can even use arms and ammunitions to safeguard your country against occupation. And as you already know, that the struggle for freedom, it has a massive support of the public, no matter how many barricades, arrests, assaults, killings, rapes, whatever torture they do, but the public does not care. It's become fearless now. So this is the point when India and Pakistan, whenever they have any sort of dialogue process, my suggestion to the Pakistani parliamentarians is that why don't they issue a bill, pass a bill in the parliament, that whatever Indo-Pak dialogue that takes place, the parliamentarians and the public must be kept aware of what the dialogue is, or at least share the framework, if not the details. I can understand that there are some secrets which have to be kept hidden, some things in dialogue processes, but yes, the main crux should be there, and also not to undermine the Kashmir cause at any stage of the dialogue with India, because we have to keep in mind that the intentions of India will never be straight. So we have to keep our core issues at the top level, not compromise on them, and have dialogue. Kashmiris are not against dialogue with India, but parallel international lobbying is required, international pressure.
Point absolutely taken, and I'll come back to you with what more needs to be done. But you visited in Indian occupied Kashmir in the near past. So Zulfikar Abbasi, what is the current milieu? How do you see the current situation, especially after the Narendra Modi government, the BJP came into power in May of 2014?
I think there's a...
I mean, vis-a-vis Kashmir, of course.
I think there's a lot of disappointment and despondency among the people of Jammu and Kashmir, because a dialogue process which was initiated between Pakistan and India during the era of Pervez Musharraf and Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and then later on with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, that process has reached nowhere. And
in fact, it was terminated under the pretext of the Mumbai attacks.
Exactly.
As early as 2008. So since 2008, we have had no dialogue.
Yeah, no dialogue. Under one pretext or another, they have been trying to push the Kashmiris towards the wall, and at the same time, the Indian army is committing the worst type of human rights atrocities and human rights violations. The other day I was having a look at the Amnesty International report of 2015, and they say that for the last 25 years, not a single army serviceman has been punished for the atrocities they have committed in Jammu and Kashmir. Now they have made this torture as a tool against the youth of Kashmir, especially they are focusing the youth of Kashmir.
So if you permit, how can they punish anyone when they've already used draconian laws, as Mushal Malik was talking about, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which grants them the power to enter the house of any Kashmiri, to take them for questioning, to incarcerate them, to torture them, and they will not be questioned.
That's very true. And they use and they coin new ways of violence. There is a report just came out a few weeks ago from Srinagar, and they say that they beat the youth violently, and then they give them the electric shocks, and then heavy rollers are rolled, their legs are rolled over, causing their renal failure and the kidney issues. And people are so scared that even they can't go to the doctors, because that's where the case is reported. And again, the Indian army people, they come and they interrogate them, they take their family members along, and then they ask for the money and all that. Recently, we had a trade between Muzaffarabad and Srinagar, and then Poonch and Rawalakot, and those people who are involved in that trade, they are investigated over and again, and they are tortured over and again that this much of money you have made from this trade. So they are trying to go after them and have a crackdown against them. So I mean, all these human violations, they need to be checked by the international community. That this is the 69th year now that India is violating the UN resolutions, and this is, I think now almost 25 years have gone when the 700,000 Indian army is in Kashmir, and they are I mean, the people of the Kashmir are meting out the worst kind of treatment by the Indian soldiers. So this is the high time that this. Yeah.
Point absolutely clearly mentioned by you, but Colonel Maroof, since Modi came over, he had a special agenda for Kashmir. First, they tried to rig the seats, the elections of 2014, yeah. November to December, which was held, but BJP failed. I mean, you remember their 44 plus formula, but they failed to get that. But they had a partnership in the coalition government, and their aim has been, on 2-3 tracks. They're also trying to change the demography of the valley, yeah, by resettling the Pandits and also getting Hindu ex-armed servicemen back into Kashmir and settling them there, so that the population becomes majority in favor of the Hindus. So these are some of the aspects that they are doing. What do you think of that, sir?
Ever since that Modi has taken over in power, his policies were very hostile towards Pakistan as well as on Kashmir issue. Look at him, during their election campaign, in their manifesto there was one clause, that clause 370 will be abolished from the constitution. Luckily or fortunately, the Indian High Court and particularly Kashmir High Court has, there was a writ against this clause, but the court has turned down this appeal. Reason being that to abolish this clause from the constitution, you have to go and pass the resolution through the parliament, which is not possible at the moment, number one. Secondly, to undermine this issue, they terminated the dialogue with Pakistan on pretext that the security advisor of Pakistan, he had discussion and he had dialogue with Hurriyat leaders, and that was on pretext on which,
in fact, on 2 occasions. First on 20th or rather 25th of August 2014,
yeah,
when the foreign secretaries were supposed to meet.
Yeah.
Since our High Commissioner had invited the Hurriyat leaders,
yeah,
for consultations, this was used as a plea.
Yes.
Then the second time, when the national security advisors were supposed to meet in New Delhi, in fact, I recall your husband was taken off from the aircraft and he was placed under arrest because he was coming to meet our national security advisor, and the Indians, they used it as a plea and they cancelled the dialogue. So they are trying to keep our leadership away from dialogue or consultations with the Kashmiris, who are actually the main stakeholder in this issue.
Yes, exactly. So, but now, after doing all these things, now they are trying to show the soft posture toward, because there is a lot of international pressure on them, and reason being their trade is being and they are being regarded as the extremist people. Their secular sentiment are diminishing now because of this. You look at there are so many incidents like Kalkarni. He was some hawkish people from this BJP. They put black ink on his mouth, and other minority, they were also attacked by the Hindu hawkish people. So there are so many incidents took place in India, and basing on those, they are, rather than having shown to the world community that they are secular, they are now being regarded as the hawkish and the more fundamentalist people. So on those basis, Modi has changed his posture, but still we don't hope that they will change their policy. but just to show the world community, now look at him, this Modi, he was coming back from USA and then Afghanistan, and then he dropped down in Lahore and met our Prime Minister for a couple of hours, just to show that we have cordial relation with Pakistan, we are trying to resolve the issues and things like that. And then they had their security advisor met with our security advisor also. And now they are planning to have the this negotiation at secretary level, which is, I think,
which was in fact supposed to be held last month,
January.
In January.
Yeah.
But just prior to that, the Pathankot incident took place, and they said that they need more time for it. But let me come to you, Mashal Malik. This Pathankot incident, how do you look at it? Was it a false flag operation conducted by the Indians themselves to put the blame on us, or to blame Kashmiris for having orchestrated that, or to get away from dialogue? What do you think?
First of all, it is an ideal excuse for India because they already don't have the intentions to bring the Kashmiris on board, and then to blame the Kashmiris, and their investigations are going on right now. Wherever incidents happen where innocent people die, yes, that should be condemned. But at the same time, when an entire nation has been held hostage by India and it is not being accountable for it, and all these draconian laws that we were discussing before, they are legitimized by their parliaments, by the puppet elections that take place in Indian Occupied Kashmir. They only take place so that these black laws like Telegraph Act, where the media reports can be changed, totally distorted, the ratios can be changed, anything can happen. You have the highest ratio of half widows over there, and there are no burial rights over there, missing persons, no reports, no accountability, no nothing. There are families that are waiting for the past 12, 13 years, 7, 8 years, so many wives who are waiting for their husbands. And just imagine a situation where you don't even know you're a widow or you are married, and a child who doesn't know that he or she is an orphan or not, and a mother who's without waiting for her son. So it's worse than death. The trauma that the families of the missing persons go through when their loved ones become invisible. So it's full of tragedies, the tale or the struggle of freedom in Indian Occupied Kashmir. But yes, this day and era where we are living right now, surprisingly most of the human rights treaties have been ratified, but nothing has happened in practical terms. I would like to connect development economics and the fall of development economics and the reduction of poverty or poverty elevation policies is also because of the top-down solutions, where the poor countries are becoming poorer, and the same goes for human rights violations or the human rights movements, where the weak people are becoming weaker. So I feel that something new should emerge. Maybe people should take charge of their own human rights and actions, and maybe a new revolution would arise in Indian Occupied Kashmir. Maybe it would move more towards militancy or something, because if the world has a tape on its mouth and world leaders have become more like businessmen and they're more interested in their business avenues within India, then that is the failure of the world, because these things will explode one day or the other, and that's what is happening within the world. And after 9/11, people are showing their resentment, their frustration, or even their legitimate struggles or their legitimate voices through explosions. Now, is that the new world we're moving into, which is worse than Stone Age? I mean, where peaceful, civilized and democratic processes which are recognized by the world over are being ignored? I mean, to deaf ears?
It's a very valid question, and we need to actually arouse the conscience of the world.
Yes.
So that comes.
So it's the failure of the world, not of the Kashmiri movement or the Palestinian movement or the drone attack victims or it's the xenophobia of the West also towards Muslims.
Because these are the victims you're talking about, but human rights organizations, they have such strong rhetoric and such strong messages, but why are they silent on such a blatant attack against human rights in Indian Occupied Kashmir? I mean, this needs to be taken to task. But she mentioned trade, and since your interest is trade and commerce also, one of the pleas the Indians are trying to take is that let us have trade first and the issues will get resolved by themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's another approach. They say that let's move incrementally and let's make the LOC as porous as possible. Let's start the movement of man, commodities and services across the line of control, so that slowly and gradually this line of control becomes irrelevant. I mean, that's another way of looking at things. One of the things which is, I think, very important, which has never come in the focus, is that during the last 68 years, when this state oppression from the government of India is continuing in Kashmir, the people has not been given any economic opportunities which they have got in the other parts of India or elsewhere. The natural resources in Jammu and Kashmir could not be developed, and the human development could not take place as it has happened on the other parts of India. So what is the end result? The end result is that the Kashmiri youth, they are very frustrated. They are educated, they have degrees in their hands, but they can't find jobs for them, they can't do any trade. So there was a window of hope in 2008 when there was economic blockade between the Jammu and Kashmir. Then they started a movement towards Muzaffarabad, and that was a Muzaffarabad Chalo call, which was spearheaded by the APHC. And Sheikh Abdul Aziz and some of the other people, they got martyred when they were fired at by the Indian Army. So that was the time when Kashmiris decided that let us break these barriers and let's move back towards the traditional routes which used to operate before 1960. And historically, we all know that this Pakistani Punjab has been feeding this entire valley of Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu through Sialkot, and this valley of Kashmir through Muzaffarabad. So they said that
and the reverse was true, because all the fruit and other amenities were coming from Kashmir to this side.
That's very true. Yeah, and this was vice versa. I mean, they said that we want the revival of all those routes, and when we went there in 2008, they were raising slogans that trade to ek bahana hai, Pakistan jana hai, teri mandi, meri mandi, Rawalpindi, Rawalpindi. And I tell you, the emotions of the people when we went there, they used to touch the boots of our cars, and then they used to touch with their eyes, and they said that this is a soil which has come from Pakistan. It is so sacred for us. They would like to kiss it, they would like to smell it with their eyes. So they are so sentimental towards Pakistan. And let me tell you that the Kashmiris as overall, and especially the youth of Kashmir, they have decided that they will not live with India. This is writing on the wall, and India will have to give this right of self-determination to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, maybe today, maybe after a year, maybe after some time, but they cannot deny this right of self-determination to the people of Kashmir now for a longer period of time, because this is the 21st century, this is the century of civil liberties, political freedoms, economic development, human development. And if you look at the facts and figures and the data in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, we see that there is a total oppression, there is a human rights violation, there are the armies. We were having a joint conference in London last year, and we were trying to look some opportunities that if you can have some common businesses between the people of occupied Kashmir and Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Somebody came up with a very interesting suggestion. They said that I would propose, gentlemen, he was calling from Srinagar maybe or from Jammu. He said that a very viable industry can be set up, that is for the army uniforms, because 700,000 army is in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So it will be a very good factory. It will be a very good business that if you set up a factory and you start manufacturing the army uniforms. So I mean, that is the fact of the matter. A valley which has been showcasing the one of the world's most beautiful, landscape, which is full of people with art and craft, which has been a cradle of civilization for the last so many centuries. They have changed this into barricades, army barricades, and they have closed down the cities and towns with the barbed wires and all that. So wherever you go, there is an impression that it's a besieged city, like somebody has conquered it and they don't allow you to move freely.
In fact, that is what they have actually done, because the Indian occupation of Kashmir is illegal and the world knows it. The only thing is we have to work hard to make sure. I'll come to what Pakistan needs to do.
I think just one thing, let me mention
Okay.
that against all this, the message from the people of Pakistan is very loud and clear, and they say that they will continue the struggle with their moral, political and diplomatic support. So I think there is a complete consensus all across Pakistan over this. All the political, religious, social, every segment of society is very clear on this, and we have an unflinching support for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and this is the message for today.
True. So he mentioned that the Indians would like to make the line of control porous, but the truth is that they are trying to build a fence over there. They are going to have, Mushal Malik was mentioning dogs. They will be having patrolling dogs, very ferocious ones. They'll be electrocuting. In fact, they've already done that in some portions to make sure that no one crosses from that side here or from here to there. So what is the real intent?
The real thing is that India wants status quo. India wants whatever portion it is with India, this should stay with India, and whatever portion of Kashmir is with Pakistan, it should stay, and that this line LOC should be made a permanent border, which can never be accepted and will never be accepted by Kashmiri as well as Pakistan. In last UN session, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has lauded this Kashmiri very loud and clear. This is the first time in the history of Pakistan that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has made the world community very loud and clear that this issue is very much alive, and this issue is a great threat to the region. And since both the power, India and Pakistan, they are nuclear power, and because of this issue, there are chances that there may be a nuclear war in this issue, this region. So, although India desired that this line of control should be made a permanent border, but if this has to be a case, this has to be a, the total working, then why the Kashmiris are sacrificing their own lives? I think I was reading a book, since '89, more than 94,000 Kashmiri has.
In fact, as I mentioned in my opening, nearly 100,000 lives have been lost, innocent lives.
Yes, and 106,000 house has been demolished, and similarly 24,000 rapes and different these type of crimes have been committed. So India is trying to divert the world community attention of the community from real issue toward the trade, and then probably they are trying to regard this issue as a terrorism. They are trying to give a shape or reshape as a terrorism, because these are certain terrorist people who are trying to carry out these type of activities in Kashmir, and that they are trying to destabilizing the region. But this is not the reality. Reality is that this issue is alive, and this issue is a issue of more than 60 lakhs people. And look at this United Kingdom. I think 2 years ago they have carried out a referendum in Ireland to give the freedom to the people of to whether they want to live with the United Kingdom or they want to live as an independent state. And during that referendum, people decided to live with the United Kingdom.
But sir, allow me. You have to mention Britain with a pinch of salt, because I stand by this belief, and a lot of people in Pakistan would agree with me, that Britain is the cause of the Kashmir issue, because they did not resolve it at the time of partition. Because according to the law, according to the Indian Independence Act of 1947, the princely states, if they were being ruled by a ruler whose religion was different from that of the subjects, the people were supposed to decide themselves. So before the people could give their referendum, the people of Kashmir The Indian forces landed there and they forced the Maharaja of the Dogra Maharaja Hari Singh to sign the letter of accession. So this was the British.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I totally agree, because it is this problem or this issue has been created by British. Had they been sincere to resolve this issue, they could have resolved at that time.
And even before that, we all know that the Radcliffe Commission was very much, and Cyril Radcliffe was influenced by Lord Mountbatten, who in turn was influenced by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to make sure that Gurdaspur is given to the Indians and a ground route is given to them. And there are many other instances also. So the Kashmir issue was left unresolved so that a bone of contention could continue between India and Pakistan.
Yes, India, and this is what is happening. And unfortunately, they are not realizing that unless they resolve this issue, no peace can happen, no peace can take place in this region. And because of this issue, both Indian and the Pakistani, they are suffering. There are lot of budget is being spent on defense. There are a lot of budget being spent.
Our development projects are on hold because of this.
Because of this.
But if you allow me, I mean, Mushal Malik, I want to ask you about the women of Indian Occupied Kashmir. They are highly oppressed. They have faced torture, rape, widows, half widows, and their children being incarcerated, put into jails. What have they done? I'm told that they are very brave people. Would you care to share with us?
Probably the bravest women I've ever met, seen, and I've lived with them, and the kind of courage that they have. I mean, they're being harassed all the time, tortured, and they are practically the breadwinners. They are the men of the house, because the men are either in the movement, or they're unemployed, or they're missing, or they've been martyred, whatever. So it's the women who are, bringing up the children single-handedly, going out in such hostile environments, trying to find jobs, trying to get education, and it's the worst. The worst kind of. Because it's daily, psychological, physical, all kinds of economic tortures that they go through. They have economic problems, and yet they are not giving up their support to Azadi, to their struggle for right to self-determination, and I believe that since 2015, it was the millennium, UN millennium goals was that without the participation of women, peace cannot take place, and a conflict resolution, it's imperative that the women be part and stakeholders of every process of reconciliation and of any kind of dialogue process. They must be given the political space, and I believe that calling women just a weapon of war in Kashmir or in other areas is just undermining their abilities, because they are braver than men. They are bearing children. They are bringing them up. They're homemakers. They're working. They're breadwinners. They're all they are a genius, the women over there. So yes, their struggle is very tough. We should in fact have a special day to pay tribute to such brave women and acknowledge them. Apart from the Hurriyat leaders, there are so many women over there who are doing great work, like Miss Parveena, who's working for the missing persons over there. She has suffered so much. She has been waiting for her son for the past, 15 years or something. And there are so many other women like her. My own sister-in-laws have been tortured so many times by the Indian forces. One of them doesn't even have her toenails, because they stabbed her feet with gun butts and knives. And I have been attacked, but I think this is part of the struggle that we are in. My little child has been they pulled her hair, they opened her pampers, and God knows what. So for me as a mother, I can now, I can feel what it's like to be living in a conflict, the kind of insecurities that we go through, but at the same time, my positivity level is also increasing. The hope, I don't know, when there's a lot of darkness, the light, it has to, just because maybe it's my nature or my parents' upbringing, and Yasin also. You'll be surprised, once we were attacked by the forces at Dalgate, and he was beaten up by the forces with gun butts because they wanted to do my body search in the middle of the road, and he's like, you can't do that because she's legally on her visa, she's exempted from police and army check. And I got out to save him, that maybe they would just kill him because he already has a metallic valve because he was poisoned in jail in the early 90s by the Indian forces. So I got out, they started beating me up, and then the people, they just came there and there was a mob and they stopped and they attacked the forces, and that's how we survived. And just right after we survived, I mean, his clothes were torn, but I'm talking about the spirit of the people over there. He's like, no, we'll still go for a long drive. And I'm like, are you okay? Your daughter is screaming, she's in the car. He's like, no, this is our land. We don't fear them. I mean, even if we die, I mean, we're fighting for our land. It's our honor, and we're never ever going to be scared. So that kind of spirit, if you have that, and that motivation factor, I mean, the morale, maybe it's my nature or something, that I feel satisfied that at least whatever little we are doing, we're raising a voice for a very big cause of humanity, so many sufferings. And so and 5th of February in Pakistan, my message to all the people over here is that support the cause, support the people, and advocate their case, and become ambassadors of the cause of Kashmir, especially the youth of Pakistan. And my suggestion to the Pakistani state is that they should establish some kind of Kashmir committees in different schools and colleges all over Pakistan to refresh their memories and to revive the sentiments for the Kashmir cause. Because as a child, I remember when I was in Beacon House, they used to collect Kashmir funds. So I mean, at that young age, impressionable age, if you grow up, you realize the human sufferings, people living in conflicts, and your heart becomes more and more compassionate. And talking about the economic prosperity of Indian Occupied Kashmir, we recently hosted a 5-day event in a PNC, a Pakistan National Council of Arts, just from 16th to 20th, and that was basically to pay a tribute to the artisans and craft persons of Indian Occupied Kashmir. And I had collected all their items and brought them here. And secondly, the most important thing that I tried to highlight over there, and I'm sure you'd be interested as well, is that very few Kashmiris from Indian Occupied Kashmir have export licenses. Hardly, I mean, you can just number them, maybe 10 or 11 people have them who can sell their products abroad. So it's basically the Indians who take away all the profit, who are the middlemen, like their shawls, their clothes, which is their economic tool, because they're living in a war right now and they need financial assistance and there are no job opportunities. So they take away all the middleman, the Indian takes away all the profit, and the artisans hardly get any security. They get peanuts, maybe 300 rupees a day. So Indians are trying to steal their heritage, trying to take away their tourism industry, not allowing tourists to come there because it's a dream destination. They have all these forces and all kinds of physical and psychological tortures. They have not left any facet of killing the Kashmiri identity.
It's a very strong message, but since I'm coming to the end of my program, in one line, your final message, what Pakistan should be doing for the cause of the Kashmiris.
Pakistan is already doing a lot, but let me tell you one thing, that if we, as they have started this Kashmir Solidarity Day, celebration of Kashmir Solidarity Day, similarly, if they, as Mishal said earlier, that they should pass on resolution in Parliament, where this issue should be highlighted at different facets of society, like in institutions and then in different departments, and we should teach to our next generation, so that this issue should
remain alive until it is resolved.
Yes, until it is resolved.
Your final point, sir.
My final point is that dialogue are continuing for the last so many years. Now I think this is a high time that there should be some tangible relief to the people of Jammu and Kashmir while the dialogue continue between Pakistan and India. And my suggestion is that when we say that Pakistan is extending moral, diplomatic and political support, we should also try to devise some way to give some economic support to the people of Kashmir, so that their prosperity should, economic prosperity should not be kept hostage to the issue of resolution of the issue of Jammu and Kashmir.
Point taken. Viewers, with that we come to the end of this discussion. This is not the last word. Tomorrow we are going to observe Kashmir Solidarity Day. And every year we hope that this will be the last, because we are sanguine that the problem will be resolved. Kashmir was once upon a time the most beautiful place on earth. So much so that when Emperor Jahangir ended up in Kashmir, he spontaneously broke out saying that if on earth be an Eden of bliss, it is this, none but this. And he was not far from the truth. But unfortunately, the presence of the Indian military has made this Eden of bliss into a living hell for the Kashmiris. And this has been going on for more than 70 years now. And it is high time that the people of the world take cognizance of it, but the people of the world will not take cognizance unless we here sitting in Pakistan and the Kashmiris the world over raise their voice and are heard loud and clear. So let us hope that light is at the end of the tunnel and the suffering of the Kashmiris comes to an end sooner than later. I'd like to thank you, Mushal Malik. I'd like to thank you, Colonel Maroof, and I'd like to thank you, Zulfikar Abbasi, for your very cogent comments. Viewers, keep watching us. Hope to see you in the next program, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.